We are live, we are direct with Ted Sims, board member and investor who set up Glee Labs, currently advising, encouraging, empowering, investing in innovative artificial intelligence startups where coaches and the platform to get the 24/7 support that takes your concepts to cash by continuously feeding your delivery teams with fresh ideas. He's innovative. He's fresh out of Colorado. He's here. Welcome, Ted, to the podcast.
Thank you,
Welcome.
Jay. Thanks so much for having me. It's great to be
No,
here.
absolutely brilliant. What I love to maybe start off with is speak about your background in consultancy and how you've pivoted just to really land it for the viewers today. Yeah, in that regard.
Thanks. Absolutely. I'll try to bring 20 years into maybe 2 minutes so your listeners can get the short version here. 20 years of consulting experience, primarily with Leapfrog Systems, which was uh, a firm that we started in Boston, and we focused on financial services and technology consulting, and really had an exceptional run. It was 20 years of fun, great partners, great clients, awesome employees. We all affectionately went by the name Froggers, and I think what really separated us was our dedication to our clients, our willingness to truly understand what they were dealing with, be incredibly empathetic around that, and then offer them a solution that was good for them and worked for all of the people that were there delivering it as well, and so that everybody could really win in that situation. So that was a really great run for 20 years. In that time, we really evolved across all these technological waves and transformations. And so as we were wrapping up Leapfrog, we eventually were acquired by a very large consultancy. AI was just starting, and so it was we were in the midst of a lot of digital transformations at that time, and start seeing some of the seeds for AI as we know it now. And so that was the timing of that in 2020.
Okay. And in terms of what was the genesis of Glee Labs, and yeah, tell us what a typical day looks like there as well. Yeah.
Yeah, right on, Jay. The genesis for Glee Labs really did come from all the fun that we were having especially at the very end of Leapfrog Systems. At the very end, we found a way to bring all of the best minds together to give them a place and a voice so that they could share their solutions. And so we called those Frogger Fridays. And so one of the key thought leaders in that space, Greg Lattis, who was a client many years ago and a colleague for a long time, he reached out and said, let's try to capture what we had at the end of Leapfrog and bring it into an AI startup studio, where we could bring that same encouragement and support for AI founders and help them to take their idea and turn it into a reality. And so that was the idea, and it hit at the right time. We jumped into it, and over the last year, we've been working on a daily basis with these individuals who have an idea, uh, primarily in the AI space. One thing that really unites all of them is that they all want to make the world a better place, and I know that's easy to say, but that's true about their ideas. And so these are passion projects for them, more than profit motivated. And it's been really amazing to see how they want to use AI to make the world a better place. And so we jump in with that. We provide a really the empowerment, and as well as a process, as well as a platform to take their idea and make it a reality. And so that's what we've been focused on day in, day out.
No, thank you for laying that out. And in terms of making projects a reality, what types of criteria, like what do you look for in an idea that makes it have product market fit, service market fit in an extremely noisy and competitive space?
Yeah, smart question. So the first thing that sort of jumps off the page with these founders that is immediately contagious is their passion around a problem. That they see a problem and they see a way or imagine a way for AI to solve that problem. And so that's the first thing that we really get wrapped up in. We really get wrapped up in their passion. Like one of the first projects that we worked with is a product called Bully Buddy AI, and it stemmed from a single mom who watched her daughter, who was struggling with bullying, and real frustration for not being able to effectively deal with the school system and find a way to solve that. And then she's actually an educator herself, so she watched some of the kids that she was working with be bullied also, and saw the frustration there, and really said there has to be a better way. And she imagined how AI could be a comforter and somebody for a kid to talk to when they're in a challenge like that, some way for them to come through with ideas that might be able to help them and get support there. And then in some of the worst cases, a way to sort of track this abuse, so that it's easy then to report to the schools. And so she had that in her mind, and we were able to sort of take that idea and test it all along the way with various platforms of AI, and then now to the point where that's in broad testing and people are using it, and we're about ready to go fully to market with that.
Oh wow, that's a great story, and I love how you mentioned starting with the passion and problem, because when you've got the passion and it's to solve a problem, then it's almost as though that's going to give you the fuel to see it through and not maybe bail where it might get a bit difficult. And I've got 10 years high school teaching experience, and so it kind of resonates with me in terms of people having a passion and wanting to kind of get that out there, and having people like yourself to just kind of give the guidance in that respect. So yeah, kudos to you, Ted, in terms of being open and really helping people to get their ideas together. What trends are you noticing in terms of what's working? I know you mentioned problems, but it's industry agnostic, like worldwide, nationwide, but what are some of the things that you're noticing? Okay, this would make a good project, or this area, or that area. Yeah.
Yeah, Jay. Like so, that's exactly right. We're definitely noticing trends. So with respect to sort of AI in general, one of the trends that really concerned us is these large language models. Um, they sort of are like generically interesting, and generically can address certain things. But when it comes to very specific problems that are serious, that generic nature and the possibility for hallucination in those models can become tragic. And there's examples out there, even in the bullying example. And so one of the things we realized is we can't rely on large language models for these solutions. We can't rely on a large language model to go out there and search all of the internet and come back with its best guess for what an individual should do in a difficult situation. Instead, we took a totally different path. We went to what we call precise language models, where the model is only provided information from experts, and we have what we call a deep interrogation process that allows us to work with these experts, really understand, like take 20 years of their counseling experience and expertise, and synthesize that and crystallize that and get it into the model, and then continue to work and train that model. So that the way that works is if a child is being bullied, for example, to stick with the same example, they're going to an AI model that only has an expert that only has expertise from people who have worked in that space for 20 years and a framework that has worked for them that in situations like this, so that kid can rely on expert education coming back to them. And if the kid says, "Hey, I'm here to talk about this, but I also want help with my ninth grade algebra homework," the model's going to say, "Well, I'm happy to talk to you, and it's great that you want help with your homework, but that's not an answer that we have in the model. So you'll have to look elsewhere for that." And so, as important as it is to answer the questions that the kids have, it's just as important to not make up answers and not give answers to other areas. And so these precise language models, as well as very strict system prompts, allow us to really put appropriate controls around the AI and make sure that we're just providing answers from the experts and then in an appropriate way.
I love that movement towards precise language models, like in terms of making sure that the information has come from the right place and it's some, serious vetting and interrogation in that regard. So you are using your own thinking and you are using your own faculties and not just relying on something and really thinking about it, which I think is very powerful.
Yeah, that's how it works. And so, like for example, sticking with the same example of a child having a problem with bullying. So one of the worst things you can do, and this is what we learned from the experts, is if the AI just tried to solve the problem. And so it's possible that if that child were to go to Chat GPT or some large language model, what could happen is the child could say, "Hey, I have this problem," and then Chat would come up with a whole bunch of solutions. And what we've learned from experts in child psychology is that that's the worst thing you can do for the kid, is to give the kid the solution. The best thing you can do for the kid is to allow that child to come up with their solution. And then if they can come up with a solution, then they can own that solution and have a way, feel like they're in control, and feel like they have a chance to solve this problem. And that feeling is incredibly important, especially in these sensitive situations. And so it's not only the information that's in the system, it's really how you're interacting and what the dialogue looks like. And so whatever problem the kid comes up with, our AI is trained to be empathetic and say, "Hey, that's tough," but also say, "Tell me more." And so that the child has that chance to really walk through that problem and get what's on their heart really out. And I'm reminded of, going back to 20 years of being in technology consulting. It was a true phrase that we worked with, garbage in, garbage out. And same thing applies to AI. In this case, it's if you put empathy in, if you put love in, if you put expertise in, if you put caring in, then you're going to get those things out of the AI. If you put everything into the AI, it really becomes a mystery of what you'll get out.
Ah, that makes perfect sense. You mentioned 25 years in the industry, like you barely look 25. So whatever you're doing there in Colorado, I'm not sure if it's the hatha yoga or the breath work. I'm not sure what you're doing out there, but yeah, you're looking good.
Thanks, Jay. That's super. But I'll take that compliment.
Yeah.
And say thank you for it. That's really nice of you to say. One of the things that I think does, maybe not physically, but definitely intellectually keep you young, is working with people who are passionate about projects and really care about making the world a better place. It's easy to get up in the morning.
100%. I think energy is everything, right? In that
Hmm.
regard. And yeah, it's being around people that definitely have that hunger to give and to serve. What's working well for you um, in the business right now?
Yeah, I think what's working especially well right now is that because we've looked at AI differently than you know I think the mainstream, we find ourselves in this place where this type of solution can work for multiple different areas. And so we're really
Okay.
seeing sort of these edge use cases. So yes, it helps in bullying, and it helps in counseling. But it also helps where somebody has a very specific field and they need very specific expertise. And so we're starting to see where this precise language model and tightly controlled system prompts can help out a lot of different other and address a lot of other different problems. And
Oh,
so that's one thing that's been interesting. Another thing is that I think that some of the experience with AI, especially that chat dynamic where um, you sort of ask a question and a kind of response comes back, and then you ask a question and a response comes back. That sort of wears thin and gets a little bit old after a while. And so, again, going back to seeing what has worked really well across the time that we've spent in technology, we started to say, hey, there must be a way to encapsulate this AI in a very basic application. So we call this application awareness and application encapsulation, which sounds fancy, but it just means the things that you would expect from a basic software program. You should be able to expect from your AI experience. So you should be able to log in, and the AI should know who you are, and then based on who you are, it should be able to do sort of give appropriate authorization and authentication responses. So like if you're a kid logging in, you should have access to some parts of the application. If you're a parent, it should be different. If you're an administrator at a school district, well, now it should be different altogether. And so some of those basic things that you would see at the beginning of an application, they need to be part of the AI experience. And same thing, throughout the middle of it, there should be a workflow that takes you somewhere, that doesn't just leave you, right back on square one, asking some other chat and another question, and sort of, and then starting the next session and having to kind of remind the AI who you are and what you're all about. And so there should be some workflow that takes you from where you start to a place that you're looking to get to. And then the third thing is just basic database architecture. There should be privacy. It should respect that privacy, but there also needs to be sort of the enough of the database to be able to sort of do standard reporting. So in that situation where that child, for example, needs to go to the school district and say, this has been happening to me for a week now and it's getting progressively worse, it should be easy to go to the database, record, bring up a report for that history, and then deliver that in that case. And so some of those things that we call application aware are really just basic application architecture, but we want the AI to live within that instead of like be something just separate outside of that. So that's another trend that we see is very important. We feel like it's sort of getting us to the sort of the front edge at least of this AI wave.
okay. No, that's absolutely fascinating. And I think what I really get from you is you're really thinking about this. You're not just going along or being lazy with it or just kind of going with the trend. You're really thinking about forging your pathway, and that is what people are going to pick up and think, actually, this is different to what people are normally saying in terms of the gurus, and you're really thinking deeply and thinking how this can impact people socially as well, which I think is very powerful. What would you say is your biggest challenge right now in your business?
Yeah, there are a number of challenges, for sure. One of those challenges is that we're just one startup studio,
Okay.
working with just a handful of founders. And our philosophy is really bootstrapping. We believe that, and it's something that I think separates us from a lot of the other venture studios or venture capitalists that are out there that are supporting startups. Um, One thing that we believe in is if somebody is passionate about this project and it's a project for good, we're not going to charge them nor are we going to take any of their companies. So the fancy
Oh,
word for
wow.
that is we're 100% non-dilutive. And
Wow.
so from the time a founder has an idea up until the time that goes to market, they own 100% of their company, and they can bring it to market, um, without having to give away that company to investors. And so that I think really sets up founders for success. The challenge though is that we're not backed by $100 million venture fund, and with that big money would be the possibility to sort of go out there with a massive publicity and marketing campaign and help the whole world know. So I think what keeps me up at night is believing that the founders have a genuinely beautiful idea that is out there to make the world a better place, but maybe the world not knowing about it and not being able to take advantage of it because we are small. And so I think that's the biggest challenge that we have with our approach. While I think it's good natured and we've seen positive results, I think the limitations of not having that some of these major marketing campaigns or major, investments to promote it. I think that is definitely a limiting factor.
Yeah, no, thanks for sharing that. I think from what I've heard and the energy and your heart and everything like that, I think it's compelling. I think you've got a very compelling case to find new founders, find like joint venture partners. Like, I think it's there. I think it's very touching in terms of your story and things like that. And so I guess my question is, and what many of the listeners might say, how are you monetizing this then? Like, is it surely it's not like a social enterprise or not for profit? Like, is there a catch here?
Well, we can imagine that. It hasn't happened yet, but we definitely can imagine where there would be that possibility. And so for now, though, it is 100%, almost philanthropic, where we are,
Wow.
they're micro investments, so it's not like we're writing major checks. And I think that limitation is critically important, because we're finding a way. Like for example, we were given quotes of well, it's about 100 to $200,000 to build some of the AI models that we uh, needed to build in order to bring some of these ideas to life. And what we learned about that was, and these were from trusted partners that we've known for a long time. Um, so we said, well, let us find a way to pilot this. Is there a way to pilot this, for less? And one of the things so we were able to sort of write a contract to get to sort of run a pilot for $11,000 instead of $150,000. And in that pilot of $11,000, we learned vibe coding.
Oh,
And so we learned how to effectively bring applications to bear
yeah.
with vibe coding. And what that did is it allowed us to build AI models for a few $100,
Wow.
not hundreds of thousands of dollars. And
Wow,
so
wow, wow.
none of these are major numbers. Like even the $11,000 was seemingly, we sort of had to throw that away because we couldn't use what we built. But the knowledge that we gained from that experiment now allows us to sort of take a startup and for a few $100 give them multi-agent AI platforms to build their idea on, and so via vibe coding. And so that's been excellent. So if we had $1 million, let's say, from some venture capitalist that wanted to fund these startups, we would have spent that $100,000 with trusted partners and felt like it was a good idea. But because we didn't have that and we're not spending that type of money, we found a way to bootstrap our way to
Wow.
now being able to sort of roll our own AI agents for hundreds of dollars. And that's been the type of breakthrough I think that's possible when you have that bootstrapping startup mentality and you don't have other people's money to waste.
No, it forces you to almost get creative. Not just relying on the capital, but relying on your creativity, relying on your research and finding these sorts of things. So no, that's powerful. Just for the listeners in terms of the vibe coding, just want to kind of break down what that is and yeah, why it's relevant.
Yeah, for sure. So vibe coding is really using AI to build applications, to build software, and to build AI models. So it's fun, right? Like you can now use AI, and my favorite is software called Replit. So you can go into Replit and you can write a prompt, just in sort of a chat experience, say, this is what I'm looking to build, this is what I want it to do. And then the AI agent will think about that a while and say, okay, here's what I heard, this is what I think we'll need in order to build that. And then it goes about building it. And maybe it's 6 minutes, maybe it's 20 minutes later, you'll have an AI model with authorization and authentication, with databases, with other functionality. And to me, it blows my mind. I mean, I can remember 20 years ago when clients would say, "Hey, we need you to build something," and we would have to tell them, "Absolutely, give us, we'll send in a team of consultants. Um, it'll cost you $500,000, and in 3 months we'll tell you whether or not we can build it." And then we would build that thing for 18 months, and over the and maybe hundreds or thousands of dollars or millions of dollars later, they would have something somewhat close to what they were looking for, but their business needs would have changed by that time, and they would have we would have had to have spent a lot of money building it and testing it and putting it into production. And I think we were better than most, but for the most part, it was just okay. And now what I see happening in 6 minutes or 20 minutes is AI building something that's excellent, not
Wow.
okay, but excellent. And so it's mind blowing what vibe coding can do. And you need to be a little bit technical, or at least have some technical appreciation, I think, to avoid some sort of rookie mistakes. But if you make those rookie mistakes, you can just say to the AI, "Hey, this isn't working. This I went, let me send you a screenshot and show you what I want and what's there now." And the AI agent in the vibe coding app will work through that with you, and it would take longer, but even somebody who's not technical could build something and put it into production and have people really using it.
Wow. Have you got a YouTube channel like with some of this stuff on? Like,
No, no.
I think it's fascinating. Like, really, like the way you break it down.
Okay.
Absolutely, you're onto something. Is what I'd say. Like in terms of demystifying it, so the teacher can access the nurse.
Right.
Everyone's got an idea in them, right?
I think that's it. I mean, I think
Mm.
that's we say at Glee Labs, we believe that AI is for everybody.
Hmm.
And I am inspired by the teacher or the nurse or somebody who's dealing with a problem that says, you know, I get it. I know that people are struggling with this. I see it every day, and I can imagine a way for AI to help. And I want to be able to build that. And so I think that's one of the things that we go through with our founders is, at first we were offering to build a lot of this for them. Now, really, what we do very quickly is we get them building their app themselves with vibe
Oh
coding.
wow!
And so it's
How
not just, we'll
empowering!
give you the fish. Yeah. Well, it's the,
How
let's
empowering is
teach you to
that?
fish.
And
Yeah.
that's true leadership. True leadership is about them empowering them. You know, and
Yeah.
so I can see an academy coming together, like where people can do it. Them, can you imagine, like empowering, like the baby boomer business owner who's ignored it for the last couple of years? Say, I don't need it. I like referrals, but
Yeah.
you get them into it. I think that's yeah.
That's it, Jay. I mean, that's the thing that's so exciting, I think, right now. And it's, if I can do it, anybody can do it. I mean, it's true. I just, like it, there's a mental barrier. And I think it's very similar to the mental barrier that slows people down or stops people from starting their own thing in the first place is they
100%.
have the idea, it's a very good idea, and then they don't know what to do next. And so what I would say to folks like that is go open up ChatGPT when you have your idea and ask Chat, "Hey, I have this idea. What should I do next?" And what's nice is it'll give you a list of things to do, and then if you follow that circle, it's like I have an idea, I don't know what to do. Now I have a list. So you start to do things on that list, and then as you start to do things on that list, it moves around up to the point where you say, well, now I'm stuck again. And so you can just do the same thing. You can say, let me ask chat or let me ask somebody for help there and kind of continue that. And so what we see and what we hope for is to really take that circle and make it smaller and less daunting rather than some imagined, big gap between I have an idea and I want to start a company. We want to just make it really small, real small steps that they know they can follow and eventually sort of continue through these small steps, really getting down that road and getting somewhere.
Extremely powerful. So, in 12 months, I see you at Rocky Mountain National Park, give you a high five. You say, Jay, look, I remember a year ago when we had that podcast interview, and look, the goal came true. Tell me, what was that goal? What's the
Yeah.
goal for the next 12 months?
Yeah, I think I have. Thank you for that. And boy, I would love to have the opportunity to meet you in person. That you've been
Oh,
just
amazing.
incredibly
Yeah.
gracious and brought a lot of energy and just this has been super fun. And so yeah, I'll take that imagination. So 12 months, you're out here, you're at Rocky Mountain National Park, and we're laughing because I think we've seen some of our founders go out and have massive success, like
Wow.
huge adoption. And the world, for example, is talking about Bully Buddy, and they're talking about how their kids, were struggling, and now they're not, and we're talking about schools and school districts that have said, hey, um, bullying was a major problem, and it's still a problem, but it's not at the levels that it was before because we were able to sort of cut it off at the pass and give kids a place to go to. Um, so I see AI genuinely making the world a better place because good people are doing good things with it, and I want to have a part in that. Um, and then there's one idea in our lab right now that we had a founders meeting just yesterday. We brought all the founders together, and this founder he talked about, hey, you know, AI seems serious and AI seems so big. I just want AI to be fun. And so he has an idea called Pet Talks, sort of a working name right now. But he's used AI in that interrogation process with pet owners to allow them to tell the AI about their pet from the time that they adopt their pet to the time that that they have now, all the fun memories, all the fun times they've had with that pet, and then the AI goes in that interrogation goes into a model, and so then people can chat with that AI and as if they're talking with their pet, and then he's even has a Bluetooth speaker that he's put on the pet's collar so that you're able to say, my dog's name is Bubbles. Hey Bubbles, how's your day been today? And Bubbles will answer back and say, my day's been a great day. I've been able to go for a walk. I've been able to have some treats. I've been able to spend time with my family. And I mean, that's not going to necessarily change the world, but it's sure going to be a lot of fun for a lot of pet owners. So, some combination of making the world a better place and then just bringing smiles to people's faces and helping people who might be feeling lonely that day to just get a kick out of having a chat with their dog.
Absolutely powerful. Um, yeah, it's that alignment, isn't it? Alignment of passion and problem, and you allow product market fit. So, there becomes that, sweet spot in the middle almost like, I'm a big, I'm a big advocate of the book, the Ikigai. Have you read the Ikigai book?
I haven't. I haven't.
Yeah, the Ikigai basically maps out what someone loves, what they're good at, and then what they could be paid for and what the world needs. So that might even apply to your idea in terms of with the AI. What someone's love, what are they good at? So they've got the passion for it. What could they be paid for? So what would the model be? Would it be a membership model, or would it be um, something long term like the model? But what does the world need? So do pet owners need to be able to get answers about injuries fast, or do they need to be able to connect with vets in the local area, that whatever it might be? And so that ikigai almost sort of kind of makes sure, okay, we're basing it on heart, market, and mind coordination. So all three of them have their place, right?
Oh, that's great, Jay. Yeah, now that you describe it a little bit, I haven't read the book, but I'm familiar with the term a little bit, and that's I think it's exactly right. That place where your passion, you know, you can find your passion and work in that area. That's awesome. That's awesome.
No, 100%. Last question. Someone's got an idea. What are the two things that you'd say for them to maybe try and validate that idea or get some steam moving on that idea?
Yeah. So that's great. So first thing is let's talk about it more. And so really to get them to expand upon it and really get to the full extent of the idea. I think what happens a lot with ideas is it's in the ballpark, um, but it rarely is exactly on target. And so in the ballpark is great. Let's go with that. Let's expand on that idea, and then let's try to refine it to the point where it starts to be a little bit more on target. And then I think the next thing is, can we test this? You know, is there a way for us to, in a relatively short period of time, test this idea to see if other people that are in this space agree that this is a problem, this solution could work. And I think what happens with that testing is it becomes sort of this further refinement. And I think what we've seen with our founders is they sort of have a great idea. It's relatively general. We refine it and get it to the point where it's a bit more on target. And then we go out and test it. And in that testing, it's not so much that we find out whether this is like green light or red light. It's more like there's more to this. There's other things that are right next to it that you can do to help out even more. And so the idea starts to sort of expand in that testing and really grow at that stage. So I'd say those are the two, critical phases at least to get started.
Thank you for laying that out. What a conversation it's been. How can people get in contact with you? I'm guessing the LinkedIn, for example, and stuff, but how can people get in contact with you, and what are you looking for in terms of ideas, or are you looking for partners? Yeah.
All right on. So I think, LinkedIn's a great place. It's for me at least, it's the only social media platform I'm engaged in, and so that would be the place. Our website, Glee Labs, glee-labs.com, is a place to go for more information and learn about some of our partners there. And then, what are we looking for? I think we're always interested in talking to people with ideas who want to take those ideas and sort of follow that AI is for everyone. Even if we don't end up working with them directly, we definitely have would love to sort of just encourage them and inspire them and say, hey, here are some tools you might want to run with. And so we're always open to that. And then I think we're at the stage now too where we have these ideas, they're about to go to market. If somebody's an expert in that space or wants to partner with us to sort of take these ideas and these MVPs and these prototypes and these early sort of early initiatives in the market and really expand those and make them sort of huge at that stage. I think that we'd be very interested in having those conversations as well.
Okay. Ted, It's been an honor. It's been a refreshing conversation. That's, something, it's not been something that's been found on ChatGPT. That's all I can say in that regard. It's from the heart, and I think your clients are lucky. We're lucky to have you. Great to have you on this podcast today.
Jay, thank you. I can't thank you enough. You've just made it so much fun. Really, really have enjoyed this time with you. Thank you. It's been an honor for me as well.
Amazing. Thank you ever so much.